Hey everyone, we know how hard it can be to keep up with the latest news here in Israel. So if you haven't had the time to stay on top of what's what here in the Holy Land, well, have no worries. I'm Tracy Alexander and this is ILTV's Weekly Review.
Very far from over. It seems COVID-19 infections in Israel are just getting started. Health ministry officials now reporting that large events may have to be scaled back in terms of their size just a month after allowing them to open for up to 250 people, saying we may have opened too quickly and the public is not disciplined or wearing masks enough. Alarm bells fully ringing now. The health ministry reporting the latest surge of COVID-19 infections in Israel, hitting a massive 532 new cases in just the past 24 hours. This is the largest daily Israeli jump in infections since early April. Health ministry officials also predicting the number to rise sharply to as many as over 1,000 new daily cases within the coming week. Taking bad to worse, head of public health services Professor Sigal Sadetsky saying our ability to track the spread of infection is collapsing. The total number of active cases now at about 5,800, the death toll holding at 308. But the Israeli public mainly feeling unafraid even as closures across the country resume in select cities.
אני ממש לא חושש משום דבר פה, האנשים בעיר ממושמעים, כולם עם מסכות, לא נכנסים לחנות יותר מה שהתו הסגול בעצם מתיר, הכל הולך פה, מתנהל פה לפי ההחלטות של משרד הבריאות, לכן אין ממה לחשוש.
Residents in the Palestinian Authority likewise feeling good with the relatively low infection rate in spite of recent shutdowns in cities like Nablus and Hebron.
الصحة أبدأ من الاقتصاد، فأنا يعني مع الإغلاق. هذا الإغلاق إذا في وراءه بنقدر نحصل جائحة كورونا، جائحة عالمية وخطيرة. نحمد الله إنه فلسطين إحنا يعني أقل خطر من غيرنا.
Meanwhile, not taking any chances, the government is now pushing forward with plans to renew its phone tracking program in law. The bill passing its first of 3 votes in the Knesset, with 44 in favor and 32 against Wednesday night, and in spite of the Shin Bet Security Services protest.
אני ביקשתי להאיץ את פיתוח האפליקציה שנועדה להשיג את האפליקציה הדיגיטלית שנועדה להשיג את היעד הזה. זה ייקח זמן, שבועות, אני מקווה שלא חודשים. עד אז אנחנו מבקשים להשלים את החקיקה בשימוש בכלי הדיגיטלי של השב"כ. אנחנו מלווים את החקיקה הזאת במתגים של הפעלה ועצירה, שלטרים, לעצור ולהפעיל. אני מקווה שלא נצטרך בכלל להפעיל אותו.
The controversial bill's second and third readings are scheduled already for next week. Just 5 days to go before Israel's July 1 start date to begin the process of West Bank annexations. Israeli Mossad head Yossi Cohen arriving now in Jordan to meet with King Abdullah II to hammer out some of the details. But of course, the international community is weighing in with its 2 cents. The whole world weighing in now on Israel's possible upcoming decision to annex Jewish parts of Judea and Samaria or the West Bank. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres calling on Israel to abandon its plans, saying it would illegally and grievously harm chances for a 2-state solution.
We are at a watershed moment. Israel's threat to annex parts of the occupied West Bank has alarmed Palestinians, many Israelis, and the broader international community. I urge Israeli and Palestinian leaders to commit to meaningful dialogue with the support of the international community.
Similarly attacking the move, Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad al-Maliki joining the chorus of critics, accusing Israel of believing itself above international law, as Arab League officials warn that a religious war in the region could ignite. Over 1,000 European lawmakers also now signing a joint statement calling on Israel to stop its actions and threatening sanctions if Israel refuses. The statement even alleging that Israel's failure to comply would encourage other states with territorial claims to disregard basic principles of international law. Meanwhile, Palestinian Authority President Abbas repeating threats to dissolve the PA, along with its cooperations with Israel. Pushing back hard, though, Israeli officials justifying the partial annexations, designed in line with the United States' Peace to Prosperity plan.
Should Israel decide to extend its sovereignty, it will be doing so with respect to areas over which it has always maintained a legitimate historical and legal claim.
Israeli Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi also reminding the international community that annexations will only include some 30% of the West Bank, and not likely any of the Jordan Valley, far less than what Israel originally expected to receive as part of the Oslo Peace Accords. The United States, on the other hand, possibly walking back, with senior White House officials only now meeting to informally discuss support for Israel's annexation schedule, though reports say that no decisions have been reached. That said, United States Ambassador to the UN, Kelly Craft, turning attentions back on the Palestinians for their part in the decades-long stall in peace negotiations.
I understand that many of you have concerns with this issue of the potential extension of Israeli sovereignty in the West Bank. At the same time, we ask that you also hold the Palestinian leadership accountable for acts they are responsible for.
All right, a Tuesday car ramming attack still under heavy question now, with the family of the suspected terrorist calling his death a murder. Israeli border police in response publishing the security footage. A gray sedan slowly pulling up and then suddenly veering off, slamming into the checkpoint, sending one guard flying. The driver then exiting the vehicle, shot dead by border security. To Israeli officials, it's just another in a long line of terror attacks aimed at indiscriminately killing Israelis. But to the suspect's uncle, senior Palestinian Authority official Saeb Erekat, the shooting was an execution. Erekat now demanding investigation. Erekat saying that his nephew, Ahmed Mustafa Erekat, simply lost control of his vehicle as he was making his way to his sister's wedding. Ahmed himself set to be married in another few weeks. Well, Israel is harshly rebuking this narrative. The lightly injured officer, Shani O Hamakadosh, insisting that Erekat looked her in the eye, turned the wheel, and hit the gas. Adding credence to the terror attack narrative, Erekat filmed himself just moments before the border incident. In the video, he appears to be angry over accusations that he may be a spy for Israel, saying, "I've never betrayed my homeland," and adding, "I've brought shame on my parents and myself." Then there's also another video reportedly found on his phone in which he argues that Israel attempted to recruit him, some suspecting that in light of these video confessions, it strongly suggested that Erekat was indeed attempting to commit suicide by cop. The Israeli military court in Judea has now sentenced terrorist Asim Barghouti to 4 accumulated life sentences. He's also been charged with paying millions of shekels in compensation to his victims and their families. Barghouti, convicted in November 2019, admitted to a series of serious offenses, including 3 intentional homicides and a slew of similar attempts. Specifically, on December 9, 2018, Barghouti and his brother committed a shooting attack at the Ofra Junction, wounding 3 and killing Amiad Israel Ishran, a baby. Then, just 4 days later, he shot up the Givat Asaf Junction, in which a soldier and civilian were injured, and 2 soldiers, Sergeant Yovel Mor Yosef and Staff Sergeant Yosef Cohen, were killed. Barghouti's brother Salah was killed while attempting to escape capture, and Assam was preparing more attacks when he was caught. Meanwhile, alleged terrorist Nazmi Abu Bakr has also now officially been indicted on charges of murder. Abu Bakr accused of killing IDF Staff Sergeant Amit Benigal May 12th by dropping an 11-kilo stone atop his head from the rooftop above during an operation in the West Bank.
יש לי אמון מלא בפרקליטות, אלה שמייצגים אותנו, ואני מקווה שבעזרת השם המחבל שהחריב את עולמו של עמית, יחד איתו החריב את עולמה של אמא של עמית, את נאוה, ישלם.
Well, obstacles seem to be clearing as the days quickly count down to July 1, when Israel's government plans to start voting on a decision to expand over parts of Judea and Samaria. Defence Minister and alternate Prime Minister Benny Gantz now softening his stance on the topic, as Aaron Porras reports.
A swift about-turn by Defense Minister Benny Gantz, signaling he could back unilateral annexations of parts of Judea and Samaria. In a briefing with military reporters, Gantz saying Israel won't continue to wait for the Palestinians, citing their persistent refusals to reach a peace deal with Israel, and adding, quote, "If they say no forever to everything, then we'll be forced to move forward without them." As part of United States President Donald Trump's peace proposal, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu can begin to move forward with annexing some 30% of the West Bank come July 1 under his coalition deal with Gantz. But Gantz has remained adamant until now that the move should not be carried out unilaterally, despite the Palestinian authorities rejecting the Trump plan out of hand. Now, social distancing, but not distance from social issues, hundreds of Israelis gathered in Kikar Rabin overnight, speaking out against the potential move.
היא החלטה שמובילה לעתיד לא רצוי ויש בה סיכונים גדולים.
Meanwhile, those who support Netanyahu creating a similar scene near the Tel Aviv Museum in a demonstration against judicial dictatorship. As the Israeli army prepares for possible violence in response to the move,
אתם צריכים למצות כל רגע של אימון וכל רגע של פנאי לתרגול, להכשרה, ללימוד, כדי להיות הכי מוכנים. אם יש דבר משמעותי ללוחמים שאיתם הם חוצים את הגבול, הכי משמעותי, זה תחושת מסוגלות ותחושת ביטחון.
IDF Chief of Staff Aviv Kochavi praising the Israeli troops, but not before sounding a warning, seemingly pointing to potential pushbacks against the government's plan.
החל מהבוקר, צה"ל החמיר את כל ההנחיות שלו. אנחנו חייבים להישאר כשירים. אזרחים יכולים להיות בבית בבידוד, צה"ל לא יכול. ממה שאני רואה פה, רמת הלחימה היא רמה טובה, והיא מוכוונת באופן טבעי לזירת הלחימה המרכזית, צפון חיזבאללה וחמאס וגב רצועת עזה. אבל אני אומר לכם, אתם יכולים למצוא את עצמכם בעוד כמה שבועות באיו"ש, בגלל הפרות סדר ובגלל אירועי טרור. ויכול להיות שהאירועים הקרובים גם יכולים להתפתח ללחימה בעזה.
Airstrikes in Syria overnight are being linked to Israel. 7 people, including 2 Syrian soldiers and 5 pro-Iranian militia members, reportedly killed in the strike. The Sana news agency saying military positions were struck west of Deir ez-Zor, and at the same time, another military position was targeted near the southern city of Sawida, resulting in the death of 2 and wounding 4 other soldiers. Sana later reporting a third set of strikes early Wednesday near Hama. This video reportedly from the scene showing explosions on the ground. The Iran-backed Hezbollah terror group releasing a threatening video over the weekend. The Hezbollah Media Center in this video threatening to strike major Israeli cities with precision-guided missiles, claiming it has the capability to hit very precise targets anywhere in the country. As the social media clip shows coordinates of Israeli targets, it also plays audio of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. Take a listen.
إننا اليوم لسنا فقط قادرين على ضرب تل أبيب كمدينة، وإنما إن شاء الله وبحول الله وقوته قادرون على ضرب أهداف محددة جدا في تل أبيب بل في أي مكان من فلسطين المحتل. مهما فعلت في قطع الطريق لقد انتهى الأمر.
The key is in the detail, and that's what the Israeli Prime Minister wants to get straight. A memorandum obtained by the Times of Israel shows Benjamin Netanyahu's talking points for government ministers to help them communicate Israel's plans to expand across parts of Judea and Samaria. This as the Palestinians take aim, but for now, say they're holding fire. Aaron Porras has more.
Palestinian Authority officials stoking the flames of citizens' unrest ahead of Israel's plans to extend sovereignty over parts of Judea and Samaria. He says violent clashes are not necessarily called for at the moment, as this would damage support for the Palestinian cause within the international community. But he goes on to warn that in the event of annexations, this might change. Meanwhile, advancing the move scheduled to start as soon as July 1, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has released a memo from his office, coaching Likud lawmakers on how to discuss and justify the plan. The memo argues that evacuating these settlements would be historically unjust and pose an immediate existential threat to the state of Israel. It also says that the Jewish settlements are an integral part of the Jewish homeland and identity. But there's one major blank spot in the memo around the creation of a Palestinian state, a main condition around Israel's West Bank expansion as outlined in the United States Peace for Prosperity plan. Since most Likud MKs are against this tenet, Netanyahu has repeatedly said that he would never recognize a Palestinian state under his governance.
Well, Israel has officially opened a new drone unit serving under the IDF Secretive Intelligence Division Unit 9900. This unit is responsible for gathering visual intel like geographical data from satellites and aircraft, as well as mapping and interpreting the visual intelligence for troops on the battlefield and for decision makers. By providing soldiers on the front lines with accurate images and assessments of the enemy, plus analysis of the field, the IDF says this will improve the effectiveness of attack strategies.
Now, the following is what I call teamwork, and we'll be seeing a lot more of it over the next few months. After immigration aid organization Nefesh B'Nefesh, in partnership with the Ministry of Aliyah and Integration, the Jewish Agency for Israel, Keren Kayemet for Israel, and JNF USA, has signed a contract with Israel's national carrier El Al Airlines for a group of 14 flights to take place over the next 3 months. It comes in the wake of an unprecedented increase in interest from North American Jews to make the move to the Holy Land. As we've reported here on ILTV, Nefesh B'Nefesh has seen its highest number of calls and applications this past May, and in the first half of June, there have already been some 900 applications for Aliyah submitted by the organization. That's compared to 399 in June 2019.
Well, we might be able to blast into space, but it's taking some time to work out how to help commuters get from central Israel to Eilat. But in one small step for man and one giant leap towards the approval of a train line could be just the solution fed-up travellers are looking for. It's Israel's most famous resort town, and for years, millions of locals and tourists have been waiting for a better way to travel south to Eilat. Without a personal vehicle, your choices are between the limited, long and crowded bus trips or catching a flight. But after nearly a decade since approving the initiative, Israeli government planners are getting started on a train line. Now, the first section of the line will connect Beersheva to Mishor Rotem via Dimona at a cost of 2.7 billion shekels. That's more than $780 million. Planners estimate that by 2030, between 18 and 30 trains per day will travel to the southernmost Israeli city, carrying 5.2 million passengers and hundreds of thousands of containers of cargo a year. There could be some obstacles though, since the budget is yet to be approved. Plus, don't forget the environment. Potential damage to the desert landscape also needs to be assessed. Well, moving on now, Israel's official Twitter page is having a bit of fun with its followers, asking people to join the conversation around which countries users would like to see Israel strengthen ties with. The social media managers having a lot of fun with the responses, even having a laugh with those who are taking the task a little too seriously. Take a look.
Now, don't you just hate it when you've got to get to your business meeting and you've got to catch the bus and it's sweltering outside and you know that your makeup is certainly going to be ruined by the time you get there after sweating in the sun? I mean, I know I have that problem way too often. But now, I won't have to anymore if this next Israeli trial shows the success that we're all hoping it does. Tracy Alexander has the details.
Typically the best part of waiting for the bus, standing in the warm Israeli sunshine. That's until the peak of summer when the fun is over and temperatures in the south soar to around 40 degrees Celsius or 105 Fahrenheit. Thankfully, at least one station is offering reprieve. Say hello to the world's first smart air-conditioned bus station. Placed in Israel's southernmost tourist hub of Eilat, the station serving as a pilot for the rest of the country. It boasts automatic sliding doors with interactive signage and a touchscreen, a comfortable inside temp of around 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit, a bus travel smart card charging station, and an electronic bulletin board with information on relevant bus lines. It's also set with a number of CCTV cameras with staff watching 24/7. Each each station coming at a cost of roughly 160,000 shekels or $46,000. Now, this kind of stuff will still blow my mind. 3D printing. And now a breakthrough in Israel's Aviation and Aerospace Industries Department of Aerospace Science. Now, this cute little aircraft you're looking at has been printed on a 3D printer. Every inch of it, from wings to the wheels. The IDF Skies printer will be used to address Israel's security needs while also lowering production and development costs.
Even archaeologists were stumped with this next story, but not because of how old the discovery was. It's actually quite the opposite. Check it out. History is all around us, especially in Israel and even more so in Jerusalem. But not all new discoveries are necessarily ancient. The Western Wall Heritage Foundation and Israel Antiquities archaeologists showing off their latest excavations of a Jordanian munitions stash hidden under the lobby of the Western Wall tunnels.
המחסניות האלה הן מחסניות של מקלע מסוג ברן, מקלע בריטי שהיה מאוד נפוץ במלחמת העולם השנייה וגם במלחמות אחר כך, והיה חלק מהציוד הסטנדרטי של לוחמי הליגיון הירדני שישבו פה בירושלים.
The find dates back to the 1967 Six-Day War between Israel and Jordan, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon. And the stash was discovered by accident while excavating a water cistern.
מה שאני מחזיק פה זה דווקא, זה כידון של רובה מסוג לי אנפילד, גם רובה שהיה מאוד נפוץ בשימוש בתחילת המאה ה-20, וגם הוא היה חלק מהציוד של הליגיון הירדני פה בירושלים.
Excavators explained that apparently this is an ammunition dump that was purposely hidden by soldiers of the Royal Jordanian Army during the Six-Day War, perhaps when the IDF liberated the old city.
That's it for ILTV's weekly review. See you next week.